Hey guys, I'm Jason and I want to talk to you about the very exciting subject of breath work today, the amazing power of the breath. So I thought, what better place could there be to talk about the breath other than among the aspens and pines of Colorado who make breathing possible for us, right? Save the trees. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the principles and mechanics of breath work so you can better understand all the various breathing techniques that are out there. A lot of people seem to be talking about breath work nowadays, as well as they should, because it is extremely powerful. But there is a lot out there and all kinds of techniques, and some of them look a little crazy, a little wild. So we'll go into the mechanics of the breath so you can kind of understand what those seemingly wild breathing techniques are doing within your brain and body. So this will be a little technical, but I hope to keep it simple. I hope to keep it useful and maybe even mind-blowing for you. I think it's all fascinating. So your mileage may vary. I also hope that this will be a great reference video for you. So anything you want to revisit, feel free to save it for later. If you're a nerd like me and you enjoy the mechanics and science of things, and you enjoy videos from Dr. Andrew Huberman or Dr. Rhonda Patrick or whatever the case may be, then you might like this little talk that I put together. I am not a doctor, and this is not medical advice, just some evidence-based information and tools and some physiology and all that good stuff that make an impact on your body and make you a happier, healthier, more effective human. So why should you even listen to me talk about breath work? I've spent over 15 years now researching and experimenting with different practical tools to help bring healing to me, help bring healing to my body. I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 31. I've had several health issues over the years, including anxiety. Stress, of course, isn't really a health condition, but and poor circulation, even circulation issues, and pelvic floor issues because of different injuries and things like that. So just a lot of things to work through, right? So I spent a lot of time finding what works and what doesn't, and a lot of experimentation. So that's where that is coming from, the fruit of my journey of finding healing for myself. This will also be based on several authorities, based on the information from several authorities on the subject, including James Nestor, Dan Brule, and Patrick McKeown. So yeah, I'll get straight to it and kind of talk about what we're going to talk about in the remaining part of the video. As many of you know, breath work or pranayama is very old. It's been mastered by Indian yogis for thousands of years. So specifically in this video, I'll talk to you about how the inhale and the exhale impacts your nervous system, both your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system, as well as how the inhale and the exhale and everything everywhere in between affects your oxygen levels, carbon dioxide levels, and nitric oxide, which is a fascinating subject in itself. You may already be into nitric oxide and know a little bit about it. If you don't know about it, I'll do a little bit of a rundown in this video of how different breathing techniques accumulate and produce nitric oxide in the body, and why that's a really big deal and will bring a lot of health and vitality to your being. Also, if you're familiar again with nitric oxide, I'll dispel a couple myths about nitric oxide and humming, specifically whether nitric oxide gets systemically distributed throughout the body when you hum. And then the other aspect will be the nitrate pathway. Most people think nitric oxide if you're into exercise, you're eating a bunch of beets or spinach or beet powder, or beet juice or whatever. So we'll go into why the nitrate pathway, just ingesting exogenous nitrates, is actually not the best primary way to activate nitric oxide in your body. Your body has a built-in nitric oxide system in the blood vessels, and we'll talk about how to activate that first via the vagus. The vagus is the key, vagus nerve. I'll also talk about a few cool tools, including humming, of course, resistance breathing, exhale holds, the double inhale, which Dr. Andrew Huberman has talked about, all to more deeply activate your parasympathetic system and accumulate nitric oxide in the body and bring you a lot of health and vitality. Trying not to be too wordy or technical here. We'll also talk about the importance of not just breathing into your belly breathing. It should be a lot deeper and more complete than that. So we'll talk about what qigong and yoga has to say about breathing. And I'll also show you the importance of tucking your pelvis. That's a really big in qigong as well. And also standing when you breathe. We'll get into all that. Hyperventilation based methods, we'll talk about that a little bit as far as like a Wim Hof method, and holotropic breath work, DMT breath work, which has been popping around YouTube, which I just had recently experienced, and I got a lot out of it. So we'll talk about what those intense breathing methods do within your body and brain, to your blood vessels and to your nervous system and that sort of thing, just so you know what's going on there. Talk about any precautions that you might want to take when engaging with a hyperventilation based practice like that. Yeah, why these intense breathing methods, these hyperventilation methods actually work, and why they do, and why they produce these changes of consciousness and insights and kind of revolutions of being that people talk about when experiencing these or practicing these methods, which I have experienced as well. So there's something to it, and there's mechanics to it, of what those do to your body to produce said effect. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then at the end, we'll do a little bit of a guided breath work or breathing practice that I do on a regular basis. It's really easy, it's pretty simple, and it incorporates a lot of these tools that I'm going to talk to you about, as far as the double inhale and the exhale hold and that sort of thing. So I think this will all be useful for you. Let's get to it. We'll talk about the physiology of breath work. So what is the vagus? We'll start there. The vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. What is the importance and the significance of those, and how are they connected? The vagus nerve is the biggest nerve and the biggest part of the parasympathetic nervous system. So when you activate the vagus, you're basically activating the parasympathetic nervous system as well. The vagus is located, it starts at the brainstem, goes down into your major organs and innervates your major organs, and then stops at the colon. When you activate the vagus nerve and thus the parasympathetic nervous system, that causes a few physical changes in the body, including vasodilation. It inflates your blood vessels, your heart rate slows down, and you may start to salivate as well. The parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest nervous system. And so when you activate it through the vagus, you might salivate. You probably will, because that is your body prepping for digestion, prepping for resting and digesting. One crucial aspect here is the exhale. Is the primary way to activate the vagus nerve. That's it. It's really simple. So there's a lot of content and practices out there, like 7 steps to activate your vagus and nervous system reset and all that stuff. And those all work, but the reason for it primarily is that they put you in a state to extend the exhale. You're going to breathe more slowly, you're going to be more relaxed, and that's going to activate your vagus simply by a slower exhale. So yeah, we talked already about one of the signs when you know that you are doing it right and activating parasympathetic nervous system is when you salivate, but also you might get warm in the face. That vasodilation, dilation of the blood vessels that happens, the expansion, will cause warmth in the face as well, because of increased blood flow, increased circulation. So what happens when you inhale and exhale? Starting with the inhale, of course, you inhale oxygen and air. But the cool part about the inhale, if you do it right, if you breathe deeply enough, and usually always through the nose, by the way, but into your belly, into your lower dantian, as deep as you can, that stretches out pulmonary stretch receptors in the lungs. And that sends a signal to your brain that there is no threat. We have enough oxygen, got plenty of oxygen, we can chill out, everything's cool. Simply by inhaling deeply into your belly and stretching out those pulmonary stretch receptors in the lungs. So paradoxically, when you inhale, you're also activating the sympathetic nervous system. It stresses you out a little bit. That causes vasoconstriction, a constricting of the blood vessels, and an increase of heart rate. So classic signs of stress, right? So that's the inhale. And the reason for that is when you inhale, your body's working, your lungs are working to capture all that air and inflate the lungs. So that takes work in the body, and that causes a little bit of stress to the sympathetic nervous system. So when you overbreathe or breathe too much, you inhale too much, that dumps too much CO2. Well, I wouldn't say too much CO2, that dumps a lot of CO2. And that's important because CO2 is actually a vasodilator. Most perceptions on carbon dioxide is that it's a waste gas, a toxic gas, and you need to keep it. It's a good thing to get it out of your body. But the thing is that since CO2, carbon dioxide, is a vasodilator, when you breathe too much, you're dumping too much CO2, you're dumping your vasodilator, meaning your blood vessels are going to constrict and your nervous system is going to get stressed out a little bit. So that's what happens with these hyperventilation based methods like Wim Hof, holotropic, and DMT breathwork. You're overbreathing on purpose and often through the mouth. So this is which constricts your blood vessels and increases your heart rate. And so this is what produces those classic symptoms of anxiety and panic that often happen with these hyperventilation based methods, including dizziness or tingling. A lot of people get cramps, tightness in the chest, shortness of breath, all that. So that's not necessarily a bad thing in the short term. These effects often, especially these breathing techniques, often have a counterbalance, what's called a parasympathetic rebound. And so you do the first part with a heavy mouth breathing, heavy breathing, or hyperventilating. And then it's usually balanced out with a huge inhale and holding the inhale, getting all that rich oxygen back, letting carbon dioxide accumulate in the body again, which dilates your blood vessels. And that causes your relaxation nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, to kick in to counterbalance the stress that you just got put through. So this is what causes these changes of consciousness that a lot of people talk about, insights, changes of consciousness, evolution of mind, all that stuff is because you're building pressure in the body, stressing out the body for a short period of time, activating the sympathetic nervous system, stressing things out a little bit on purpose to build pressure in order for that friction and pressure to produce an effect, to produce an insight, to produce a change of consciousness. So it's just like a diamond being formed under high pressure. It's that pressure with these breathing techniques, some of these breathing techniques that are producing such beneficial effects. So with that being said, and what it does to your physiology, is it dangerous? Should you take precautions? Yeah, take precautions. It's not necessarily dangerous. I would say it's not dangerous just because it is balanced with that parasympathetic rebound built into those techniques. But I would say that just be careful, listen to your body. If you already have a predisposition to being sensitive to cold or poor circulation or shortness of breath or already prone to anxiety attacks, that sort of thing. You may want to be careful with these breathing techniques that are going to stress out the system even more, even if it's just for a short period of time, a few minutes. So again, just listen to your body, slow down if you need to. If you are that in that category, then I'd maybe only do it once a week or twice a week. This isn't medical advice, of course, but Wim Hof does the same thing. He makes sure that if people have any pre-existing cardiovascular issues, heart issues, anxiety or a vasoconstriction, that sort of thing, then you may want to avoid it or just do less of it. So I don't think it's just me saying that. And should be people practice them? Yeah, I think so. And so I think one interesting connection too is these breathing techniques kind of mimic ordeal journeys. Right, the ordeal of a spiritual journey. Sometimes some of these hard processes, such as ayahuasca vision quests. You're out in the jungle for a week, 2 weeks, no food, drinking ayahuasca, which I have never done. I spent some time in South America and did ayahuasca several times, which I'm grateful for, but I wasn't ready for a vision quest at the time, and maybe I never would be. I wouldn't say that, but it seems really intense, so that's a stressor to the system. That's an ordeal journey, and builds pressure in your system to produce these clarifications, this clarity of mind and insights. There's a lot of animals just kind of like crawling around here. Anyways, and also similar to Jesus, right? He's spent 40 days, 49, wait, that's the Noah story. 40 days, that's still 40 days, 40 nights fasting in the desert, right? And he either had a vision of the devil or the devil showed up and tempted him with power, that sort of thing. But Jesus frequently withdrew to the wilderness to pray and frequently recruited fasting as a tool to build this pressure and sensitivity, spiritual sensitivity in the body in order to produce, insights or changes of consciousness or healings, miracles. So I thought that was an interesting connection. So these breathing techniques kind of are a microcosm of those like longer ordeal journeys, because they can be pretty stressful. These breathing techniques for a short period of time. So they feel like an ordeal. So one last quick thing on the inhale. We talked about belly breathing, how it's proper inhale is about more than just breathing into your belly. When you inhale deeply enough, yeah, it goes into your belly, but you also should sense some movement below your belly. That is your lower dantian, which is talked about in qigong, or your root chakra, which is in yoga. It's about 2 fingers or so below your navel, and that is the area that is so important in these traditions. But you really need to be engaging your root below your belly whenever you breathe. So when you inhale, you should feel that coming out, and also the side of your waist and the side of your root expand as well. It just should really engage that entire area, not just the belly. As far as technical benefits, that allows you to extend the exhale and extend the inhale even further for a further drop of the diaphragm, deeper inhale, deeper stretch. Deeper stretch of the stretch receptors in the lungs, so a less threat signal to the body. Okay, on to the exhale, and we'll wrap up this section pretty quick. So again, the exhale is the primary way to activate your parasympathetic nervous system and activate your vagus. It is also called the vagal brake. The exhale is called the vagal brake because of its direct impact on braking the parasympathetic nervous system. So when this happens, we kind of touched on this. When you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, it causes vasodilation, inflates the blood vessels, and causes your heart rate to slow, and you just feel way more relaxed. So by deduction, you could probably connect the dots that if you extend the exhale long enough and even hold the exhale holds, you're going to activate the vagus and the parasympathetic nervous system really, really deeply. Also with the exhale, it does dump CO2. We already talked about that a little bit. One interesting bit here is that as the exhale dumps CO2, if you extend it long enough and hold it with an exhale hold, that actually accumulates CO2 again. The CO2 levels rise again after you just got done dumping it. So that's important for a couple really interesting reasons. So the accumulation of CO2 is a moderate stressor on the body, but building up an increased tolerance to CO2 is important because the more CO2 you have in your blood vessels, the more oxygen you're actually going to get whenever you inhale. Which is really fascinating. So just kind of explain that a little better. Accumulation of CO2 allows more oxygen to get unpacked from your red blood cells, excuse me, or your hemoglobin. So it's that CO2 that's allowing that more of that oxygen to get unpacked from your red blood cells, meaning more oxygen gets inhaled whenever you inhale. So I think that's fascinating. So the more oxygenation, the better oxygenation you have, and the more oxygen you're getting is going to be a better, deeper signal to your body of removing that threat signal. So yeah, really interesting stuff. Last but not least, on the technical aspect of this video, the physiology, is mouth breathing. In most cases, you want to avoid mouth breathing, especially in daily life. If you are mouth breathing throughout the day, I would really suggest stopping. Mouth breathing activates your sympathetic nervous system. It stresses your body out, causes vasoconstriction, elevates your heart rate, and can produce some of those other effects, anxiety and panic effects, heart issues even, that sort of thing. So really important to avoid for the most part. And I say that because there are some spiritual traditions like the Sufis incorporate mouth breathing, pranayama, some aspects of pranayama incorporate mouth breathing as well on purpose. And then some aspects of those hyperventilation based methods like DMT breath work have a section that involve more intense, faster mouth breathing. So yes, those sections or aspects of those breathing techniques do stress out your body for a short period of time. But if we're acutely doing it for a short period of time, it can have incredible benefits on your consciousness, and just make sure that it gets compensated with that parasympathetic rebound that is usually built into these techniques anyway. But yeah, mouth breathing in general want to avoid as you're going about your day in life. All right, now on to cool tools. These are a few nifty methods to add into your breathwork stack. That'll more deeply activate your vagus and your parasympathetic nervous system, bring harmony to your body and healing. First, we'll talk about humming. We talked about this a little bit already. And think in breathwork circles, humming is often talked about, and for good reason. So it does activate the parasympathetic nervous system for reasons we don't really know yet. So as far as my understanding of the science, we don't really understand the mechanism behind that, but it does relax us. It does activate our parasympathetic nervous system. And this is why Om works, chanting Om, because there's a hum involved, as well as other spiritual traditions, religions, practices, chanting, mantra-based practices, different types of humming. Those are they're all there for a reason, and they all work. So there's a reason that they're there. So does humming increase nitric oxide 15x In the body, yes, but there's a caveat. So if you're already familiar with nitric oxide and this argument or this statement that is out on social media about the 15x number. So yes, when you hum, that does produce 15 times as much nitric oxide in your nostrils compared to regular breathing. The caveat is that nitric oxide only gets pumped into your respiratory tract and stops there. So it does not get systemically distributed throughout the entire body. It stops basically at your lungs and your respiratory tract. That doesn't make it any less cool. So that's why humming is incredible for respiratory issues, respiratory infections and different things like that. That's really going to help you if you incorporate humming. So it can still be really, really powerful. Okay, and getting to what is nitric oxide and why is it so cool, just real quick, if you don't already know, I just wanted to include it because I think it's important enough to talk about. Yes, it's nerdy talking about a molecule called, nitric oxide, but it's fascinating and it has incredible healing effects on the body and mind that I just had to share with you, So yeah, nitric oxide is a signaling molecule and a gas that is produced in the body that just has a lot of different effects. So when you activate your parasympathetic nervous system through some of these breathing techniques or through the exhale, we already talked about how when the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, that causes vasodilation and inflation of the blood vessels. The reason that happens is because of nitric oxide. So very, very important. So if you're nitric or if you're deficient in nitric oxide or not breathing correctly to produce enough, you're not going to get your parasympathetic nervous system isn't going to activate as deeply as it could, and you're not going to have that vasodilation nearly as much as well. And so since nitric oxide causes vasodilation, that's good for heart health, because when the blood vessels expand, that lowers your blood pressure, and that's excellent for your heart health. So with the increase of circulation or improvement of circulation, that means more nutrients are getting circulated throughout the body, more oxygen is being circulated throughout the body. This improves exercise performance. That's why so many active people and people who exercise or lift or whatever are into nitric oxide because of its effects, powerful effects on pump. On better circulation and blood flow. And also, of course, nitric oxide is huge for sexual function. And that's the main reason that, what's the Viagra? It took me a second. That's why medicines, if you want to call it that, like Viagra, work through the nitric oxide pathway. There's more to it, and I'm a little vague on how that all works, but nitric oxide is involved. So nitric oxide is also amazing for wound healing. If people who it just for some reason takes a long time to heal a cut or whatever the case may be, that could be a nitric oxide deficiency as well, based or caused by breathing or improper breathing. So also very, very important. So since nitric oxide is great for wound healing, by extension, it's also great for healing your vascular walls, healing your blood vessels. If you have any kind of endothelial damage, nitric oxide can help with that, meaning you're optimizing your breath can help with that. So it's great for wound healing, it heals vascular walls, and it's anti-platelet. Nitric oxide as a gas somehow, a little vague on the science here as well, but somehow cause platelets to not form. It's almost like a magnetism, anti-magnetism thing to kind of make the platelets not attract to each other. I think that's fascinating. So by extension, that makes breathing and nitric oxide really, really important for cardiovascular issues. So, you know, these platelets can form in your blood vessels, causing atherosclerosis. I always have trouble with that word. And then, or just cause plaques in the blood vessels, and those can break off, causing stroke, causing heart attack, or whatever the case may be. So the fact that this cool gas, nitric oxide, produced by proper breathing, can have that such an antiplatelet effect is crucial for, you know, heart disease that is happening, you know, so prevalently right now. So yeah, really important stuff there. I think that was all that I wanted to mention there. And then, yeah, nasal nitric oxide, excellent for respiratory health. We already talked about that. So here's a quick trick related to that. So if you ever have nasal congestion, runny nose, stuffy nose, here's just a simple thing that you can do. And like, seriously, it works. It's crazy. So you exhale completely, plug the nose, hold the exhale while plugging your nose, and nod your head up and down during all this. Like that. Inhale normally. And that should, a lot of times that'll clear up a congestion just on that inhale, which is pretty darn cool. And the longer you hold it, the better it works. And the reason for that, which I think I was going to mention later, but I'll just touch on it. But the reason for that is that when you do an exhale hold, that lets nitric oxide accumulate in your nostrils. So yeah, the pockets that produce nitric oxide or hold nitric oxide, whenever you exhale and hold the exhale, that lets nitric oxide accumulate in your nostrils, so that whenever you inhale again, you're pumping in or inhaling all that rich amount of nitric oxide, which again, that's why it's amazing for respiratory health issues. And this is one really clear proof of that, in my opinion. Okay, so a couple more things on nitric oxide, we'll move on. It is directly tied to insulin signaling as well. So we're talking insulin resistance and diabetes. Can be connected to nitric oxide deficiency and poor breathing. So that's wild as well to me. There are also a few crucial nutrients that are needed to stabilize nitric oxide, as well as nutrients that are required as precursors to the production of nitric oxide as well. So there's a bigger picture there, but the breath is the primary mechanism for that. So one more quick thing, if you're already in nitric oxide and are ingesting exogenous nitrates such as leafy greens like spinach, or beets, beet powder, beet juice, or some other kind of nitrate supplement, not a lot of people are talking about, or talk about in general, how the nitrate pathway, ingesting exogenous nitrates, is actually not the best primary way to activate nitric oxide in your body. You actually have a built-in system within your blood vessels to produce nitric oxide in the body. And that is through the eNOS pathway, lowercase e, uppercase NOS. And that it is activated whenever you activate your parasympathetic nervous system. We've kind of touched on this. So kind of putting it all together. So when you extend the exhale, activating the vagus, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, blood vessels start to dilate. And that is because of nitric oxide. Your parasympathetic nervous system is sparking nitric oxide to be produced in the blood vessels, in the vessel walls, and that is what's causing your vasodilation, your blood vessels to inflate. So I think that's fascinating as well, but and super important, because most people when they talk about exercise performance, it's all basically beats. But there's a deeper way to activate nitric oxide in your body on a more consistent basis all day long, instead of just a quick hit of beet juice or whatever. But you know, the exogenous nitrates, the nitrate pathway is still absolutely can be beneficial for an even bigger boost of nitric oxide for exercise performance, that sort of thing. Of course, there's other variables as well, including your mouth bacteria is important. I wasn't planning on getting into this, but this is interesting as well. So the reason that nitrates get converted to nitric oxide, you're ingesting nitrate-rich vegetables or beets, is your mouth bacteria that is helping to convert those nitrates into nitrites. And so if your bacteria is good, which there's a whole other tangent to that, to make sure that your bacteria is, don't do mouthwash, basically. Don't do antiseptic mouthwash. That's gonna kill your mouth bacteria and inhibit any nitrite or nitric oxide activity that could otherwise be possible from the nitrates that you're ingesting. So that's important. So mouth bacteria converts to nitrites. Those nitrates get converted to nitric oxide in the stomach. So the chemical composition of your stomach and acidity of your stomach is important as well. So anyways, there's a few other factors, including the nutrition aspect, because if you have nitric oxide and you don't get enough of the proper antioxidants or nutrients to stabilize it, nitric oxide can become superoxide, which is dangerous and have the complete opposite effect of what you're going for. So I'll probably eventually make another video about that, optimizing nitric oxide through nutrition and mouth bacteria and all that. But I think that's enough for now. So a couple other methods here, cool tools, and then we'll wrap up and get to the guided breath work. So next is resistance breathing. This is really easy. You're basically pursing your lips like you're blowing through a straw. To create back pressure resistance. That resistance is creating back pressure back into your lungs. And that is causing your alveoli, I think I'm pronouncing that right, to expand. As those pockets in your lungs expand, that's allowing more intake of oxygen while you're exhaling. So that's pretty cool. So that's the reason why you can really like sit with this for a pretty long time. And with this technique, you can really extend the exhale for a really long time, because you're still getting some oxygen intake from those pockets, from that back pressure, as you're exhaling. So very cool, very useful, powerful technique to extend your exhale in order to more deeply activate your vagus. Okay, last but not least, I believe, oh no, we got a couple more here. I'll try to speed through this. So the pelvic tuck while standing. So especially in qigong, I'm currently a student of qigong at a nearby institute, Red Thread Institute, holla. So especially in qigong, the pelvic tuck, tucking the bottom of your pelvis forward to kind of straighten your pelvis and your lower back. You can kind of feel it when you're doing it right. But the pelvis comes forward. There we go. And it's often done in qigong to do all of our breath work and movements standing pretty much all the time, 100%. And there's a reason that standing often is more effective for breathing and allows for proper breathing mechanics. Okay, so the pelvic tuck, we'll start with that. So tucking the pelvis forward like that, especially when you exhale. I think you can see. Let's do it one more time. There we go. See that? So the pelvis is tucking kind of automatically whenever you deeply exhale anyway, especially when you stand. And that's why standing is also really important, because it allows for that pelvic tuck a little better. While you're sitting, you can still tuck your pelvis. You just have to be much more intentional about it. And the sitting, I believe, in my opinion, constricts things a little bit more in your torso. So maybe you're not getting as deep of an inhale. So that's kind of my take on that, at least. But the pelvic tuck for sure, and standing is usually is crucial in like qigong. So yeah, incorporate that into your breathing as well. That's especially important and powerful for people who have pelvic floor issues, hypertonic pelvic floor, that sort of thing, which I am still working through myself. I've had a lot of injuries from childhood to teens, from skateboarding to karate to car wrecks to a snow sledding accident that just like put my mom in the hospital. I was like 5. And I think that kind of crunched my pelvis and my hips as well. So just like over time, and then sitting, for Pete's sake, like too much sitting. An office job for years, which, you know, I had tried standing desks and stuff like that too. But still just a lot of sitting did not help things. And that was one major reason why qigong was so powerful for me coming across it, because as I started to practice, like, oh, tucking the pelvis, I was getting into horse stance, which I might be more Tai Chi. That's a Mabu is the name of the stance, but it's super wide. Let's see if I can. It's like a lot of these diagrams of these Mabu guys are like, and they're like going all Super Saiyan. It's not that intense, but it's just like, it's actually really good for your posture, really good for stability, structural issues, and cultivating chi, and prana, all that stuff. So anyways, really great for pelvic floor issues to kind of correct any anterior pelvic tilt. I have also had scoliosis I'm working through. I have had anterior pelvic tilt and a loose hip. That was another one. At some point, my hip got loose, so it pops out sometimes and gets weird, and I have to like walk on the ball of my foot. Great stuff. I should probably see a pelvic floor specialist, but a lot of these things that I'm learning, these methods and practices, are kind of alleviating the need. Okay, one final quick tangent. I had even gone to a chiropractor to correct some of these issues. I went to a personal physical training. What's the name of that? Anyways, physical rehabilitation of some kind. And neither of those really worked, but it wasn't until I started doing yoga and qigong and tai chi that really started to correct these pelvic floor issues for me. And it enabled better breathing, just a better vitality. I felt stronger, more confident, because my nervous system wasn't getting so jacked because of my pelvic floor, which is causing that. Anyways, so kind of crazy stuff. Yeah, with the pelvic tuck, it allows, the reason it works real quick, especially on the exhale, with the tucking of the pelvis, allows for the diaphragm to really relax, go all the way up and rest against the top of your rib cage like it should. And it just extends the exhale, which further activates your vagus. Okay, and then real quick, the diaphragm and the pelvic floor. It's good to think of those as a piston. Diaphragm up here, that dome-shaped muscle up here, direct connected to your pelvic floor. So when you tuck the pelvis, see if I can kind of do. So I have a little bit of an anterior pelvic tilt, and so when you tuck the pelvis like that, it gets that piston right in line, right? So fuller drop of the diaphragm, fuller raising of the diaphragm allows for greater inhales and greater exhales, which just is better for your nervous system all around for the reasons that we've already discussed. Okay, a couple more final things and we'll get into the guided breath work. Exhale holds are really fascinating. Kind of already touched on that. When you hold the exhale, it actually accumulates nitric oxide in the nostrils, like we touched on, which of course all those amazing healing effects of nitric oxide purely through the exhale hold, as well as the increase of oxygenation, increase of oxygen that is possible whenever you let CO2 accumulate during these exhale holds. So accumulation of CO2 allows for a greater unpacking of oxygen from the red blood cells, which we kind of talked about. So two major benefits to the exhale holds there. And then last but not least, double inhale. That was popularized, I believe, mainly by Dr. Andrew Huberman. And we already touched on, I believe, on the full mechanics of that. Double inhale stretches out the pulmonary stretch receptors in the lungs, deactivating the threat signal from the brain. Okay, cool. So that's all the cool tools. Get to the guided breath work now. And then I want to touch on the double inhale real quick. So this is when you can start to have fun with it because we understand the mechanics and the principles of the breath. So you can start to combine things and play with things a little bit, such as the double inhale. Sometimes I'll do 3 or 4 inhales at the top to and hold it in for a little bit, you know? So you can really play with maximizing the double inhales, which is really powerful. I would recommend doing that. And then humming. I like to play with the tone of the humming. One that I often do is starting from high pitch to low pitch. So that's literally like you get your body involved, you really tuck the pelvis, extend that exhale, and then the high to low, the humming, I think has a really powerful clarifying and then grounding effect on your energy centers. So I recommend playing with that as well. I really enjoy doing that. And then, yeah, as far as practice, incorporating this into your life, I'd recommend maybe like 5 minutes a day. 4 or 5 times a week or something like that. Just incorporate it on a regular basis and it will change your life. It will change your physiology, change your nervous system. Okay, so let me put it all together real quick. Put a few of those tools together. So maybe I'll back up a little bit if you want to see like the mechanics. I don't know, it doesn't matter for these particular methods, I don't think. Okay, so inhale through the nose, and then double inhale. Hold for a click if you want, and then resistance breathing. Get the body involved, deplete the air as much as possible. Tuck the pelvis. Hold for as long as you want to build up your CO2 tolerance. Big inhale into the belly and the lower danshin, or your root. Double inhale, triple inhale if you want. Resistance breathing again for as long as you can. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then you can alternate with humming on the exhale instead of resistance breathing if you want to. So yeah, you can kind of alternate the exhale technique. Even doing did I even talk about the bumblebee effect? I don't even think I said it. So the one thing that you can do is combine and bumblebee method. That's bumblebee effect is a movie. No, that's butterfly effect. Okay, wow, just ignore me. Okay, so what were we doing? Bumblebee method. This is something that I just kind of put together myself. It's not to be confused with the bumblebee breath in yoga. I should probably come up with another name for it. But it combines humming with resistance breathing. So I'll just zoom in here. So same pursing of the lips with resistance breathing, add in humming, it produces a bumblebee sound. And that's it. So as far as I know, I haven't seen that technique out there in pranayama or otherwise. So it's just something that, you know, one day I was like, oh, I could combine these and do two at once. So you're going to get the effects of both, which is really cool. The powerful effects of humming with the nitric oxide and activating parasympathetic nervous system. And then the benefits of resistance breathing, allowing for that super extended exhale, even further activating the vagus nerve. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. If you stuck with me till the end, congratulations. I'm impressed because this is pretty technical subject matter, but hopefully this was interesting for you and useful. Try it out and let me know how it goes. It will produce positive impacts in your life. And help you become a better human, right? Like be a little less reactive to people, have more patience with people, and love for each other and our fellow man. Less stress in our life, being able to kind of open up the bandwidth, our conscious bandwidth, clear out that conscious bandwidth, so that we can be more present in our life. With everyday moments, bring, you know, that sense of the sacred to everyday moments. That's the crux of mindfulness, which is the crux of enlightenment, as it's taught. So anyways, yeah, hopefully this is helpful for you. Let me know how it goes. Peace out, enjoy, and talk to you next time.